Welcome into Time Out NFL on the FiredUP Network. Christmas special coming up. So by all means, Merry Christmas to everyone watching it. The Kansas City Chiefs get a second year in a row with a Christmas game. Last year, they were embarrassed, their worst loss of the year, to the Raiders. This year, they're traveling to Pittsburgh after only playing on Saturday. The Steelers in the same position. It's the holiday remix. The four teams playing today also played on Saturday. So that way they at least get a couple of days off. Gerald Bentley, Alex Campbell. Alex, thanks for joining us here as we get ready to celebrate the holiday. And tonight you got two big games. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Steelers. The Steelers can win or, basically secure their division spot. They're in the lead now based on conference record after losing to the Ravens on Saturday. The Chiefs need one more win, and they are the number one seed in the playoffs in the AFC. And then the other side, we get the Ravens taking on the Texans. Just wanted to start out with the Chiefs and the Steelers. How do you feel about this game? Because I think the Chiefs may have played their best game of the year against the Texans on Saturday.
Yeah, it seems like they're peaking at the right time. Like the receiving core is kind of like coming together at the right time. They figured kind of maybe settled a few things down on the offensive line to an extent. Tooney's just been able to shuffle around and make magic happen. Mm-hmm. They're hopefully getting Humphreys back here soon. It's hard not to like Kansas City, but this is a weird situation. I mean, like you said, all four teams played on Saturday, and so they had kind of the most rest they could give them in that way. I mean, they weren't Thursday night games, but it's a super quick turnaround. The Steelers at home, that's tough to travel from. I just think it's a tough spot for the Chiefs. And it's not about who's better here. The Steelers are good enough that I think they win this one. Even though the Chiefs are kind of coming together and peaking at the right point, I just think it's a really weird situation for a team that's played a lot of close games. Steelers can certainly win in a rock fight. It's kind of where they want to be anyway. I'm going to pick the Steelers in this one.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs because they've won these games all year. Here's what Andy Reid said earlier today talking about this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what you've got to do. The coaches did a good job of spending some time before our game on Saturday looking at them. So we had a little bit of a jump start, but we did come back here and take a peek at them. So.
What are some characteristics of Mike Tomlin's teams? You guys don't play him all the time, but you've seen enough of him.
Yeah, I used to play him every year at least when I was in Philadelphia. His teams are tough. They're well coached, and they're going to play hard every snap. They're going to give you an honest down every snap. So you got to come in ready to go.
Andy, would you say you took a peek at him? Did you come right here after the game?
I did.
Saturday?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Stayed a good while, I take it.
I stayed a while.
That was a tight turn. He's talking about the Governor's Cup, where the Eagles and the Steelers would play each other in the preseason every year if they didn't meet up in the regular season. So they are familiar with each other, and it is a super tight turnaround. But, I don't think you really need a whole lot of practice to know what the Steelers are going to do. I mean, they're pretty cut and dry what their style of play is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, their injuries on defense too are kind of in the right area for the Chiefs. They lost their edge rushers, two of their starters on the edge. So I mean, I could see the Chiefs winning. Like I said, I just think it's a weird spot. And the Chiefs are now celebrities. And I think that plays a part. I do. I think to an extent I think it's impossible to say that Kelsey's not distracted. I mean, he clearly is to an extent, and he deserves to be. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve his own personal life, but look, he's not. You can't. It's been a precipitous drop off, even though there's been a bit of a resurgence. He's clearly distracted. Teammates joke about how he's in some other city the day before the game. That's, I always look at athletes kind of like, employees, because they are. And like, you don't want your leaders to be doing things like that necessarily. It's not a good example for the rest of the team. I'm not saying they have issues in the locker room. They're as stout as anyone with the leadership they have. But that said, like, they're kind of celebrities. Mahomes on a ton of commercials, and you know
Sure.
what I mean? You get what I'm saying. And so I mean, this is just a weird spot that I don't think any of them want to be in. I don't think they wanted to be in it last year. And I think that played a part in why they lost to the Raiders, a far worse team than the Steelers.
Oh, yeah, no, they didn't want to be in that game. They just seem to be much more focused this year. A guy who's not distracted for the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown, had 5 catches on only 15 routes ran. The vast majority of his yards coming on yards after catch, added an element to the Chiefs offense, and I think made Xavier Worthy look better too. Hollywood Brown talked about how he was getting ready to come back and play this regular season.
Yeah. I mean, when I first initially, got the information, it was told I was a small chance for me coming back for playoffs. But I was like, it's a chance, and it was like, yeah, it's a chance. Told me the recovery time, and from that point on, I just went to work.
How important are these games before, like you said, the original timeline was probably playoffs. How important is it that you're able to get some games in before, obviously, what's the most important part of the season?
Yeah, it was real important to me. I mean, because, these guys, they go through a whole season, you see a lot, they've been through a lot. So I wanted to get out there, get in football shape, get my legs right, get into the flow of things before playoffs.
So he's definitely sounding up for it. And one more bite, Patrick Mahomes talked about the quick turn. And I just think they're leaning towards the tape right now because they see the potential of 3 weeks off if you get this win on Wednesday.
I didn't do any of the preparation before. You have to focus on those teams that you're playing. I mean, Houston's a great football team, and we needed all hands on deck for that. But right after I left the building, I was already getting pictures and videos sent to me from the coaches, and I got to open some presents with my family. And then right when they went home, I was already on to Pittsburgh, and this is a great defense. And so for us, we're going to have to play our best football to beat this team, and it's going to take everybody's best. So I'll try to get as much information as I can in before we get on that plane.
And it is a tight turnaround, basically 100 hours after the game ended on Saturday to the game will kick off on Wednesday. So we'll split on this one. I'll take the Chiefs to win and by nature of the 3-point line to cover. And Alex, you're going with the Steelers?
Yeah, I'll go with the Steelers here.
Okay. So you're thinking, just to crystallize it, that Taylor Swift is a bigger distraction for the Chiefs than Glorilla is for the Steelers.
Yeah, I do. Well, I think just a general thing, but you know what I mean, where they don't want to be here. They didn't want to be here last year either.
Well, and add to the level too, Glorilla is not dating one of the Steelers. She's just a big fan of the Steelers.
But she's also not Taylor Swift.
No, but in her genre. So we'll go with I'll take the Chiefs and the Swifties, and Alex, you'll go with the Steelers. The other game, Houston, the Texans, they were putting up a good fight. They tied the game on a touchdown pass to Tank Dell, and then as he was injured by friendly fire as he got rolled up on by a fellow Texans wide receiver, the air seemed to just completely deflate from the Texans. The whole dynamic of that injury just seemed weird because it took a long time. As it turns out, nowhere near as serious as it looked. Dislocated kneecap, and I'm hearing reports of maybe an ACL injury. But I mean, realistically, the dislocated kneecap, if it damaged the patella tendon, it's going to be the same rehab anyways. Bad break for Tank Dell, second year in a row that he's out with a leg injury late in the season. It's going to disrupt probably being ready for the beginning of next season. Again, the Texans take that kind of it had to be a deflation to lose that game on the road to the Chiefs. They were playing well, blow for blow, and then just kind of fell apart. The game wasn't really as close as the final score indicated because Kareem Hunt could have ran in, and that would have kicked the Chiefs to 34 points. Instead, he slid, and they just killed the clock off. Could you come off of that performance on the road to face a Ravens team that's obviously super motivated, needing to get a win?
Yeah, and that's the issue, I think, is that the Ravens are super motivated and need to get the win, especially if the Steelers win at 1:00 and they're going to be watching that game and the pressure's on. Let's not forget they split the series. Not only are they tied at 10-5 right now, they split the season series with the Steelers. So they lost early in the year to the Steelers, and you know what I mean. And so this puts them in a spot now where they kind of have to win. The Ravens really have to win, and as oddly as it is, even though the Texans are reeling after the injury and everything and have a worse overall record, they actually don't need to win nearly as bad. I think they're pretty much in control of their division now. I mean, Indiana has like an outside chance of catching up to them, but it's not going to happen. Even though Indiana plays, I think, New York and Jacksonville, I still think the Browns beat the Ravens in the final game, no matter what happens here. And all is well. Or sorry, I got that wrong. I said the Ravens. No, my bad. So yeah. But
I think the Ravens beat the Browns in the
the Ravens beat the Browns. Yeah, I meant the Texans. They're gonna beat the Titans at the end of the year, regardless. Yeah. So the Titans are awful. So the Texans, I think, are in a better spot and don't need this as bad as the Ravens do, and the Ravens are already the better team. So yeah, I got to take the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens get this win. The analytics favor them 63.7% of the time, and the Texans. I mean, it really, and this has been a talk amongst multiple national commentaries that I listen to. They really seem to just be, just totally devastated with that injury and just the reactions. I mean, it's a game where you get hurt. I mean, it didn't seem like a in-kind reaction by the Texans. They really seemed thrown for it. And I don't know if that's a sign of just a close-knit team and its camaraderie, which I guess is good because you don't want to be so cold and analytical and calculating in a Belichickian mode that you go, okay, next. But to get so thrown off seemingly that you can't function. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for them coming off of that loss, off of a loss of obviously a very valued teammate. And now you have to take on a team that's angry coming off of another game where they're going to go and, okay, hey, we need to win this because we're down on conference record. That's why we're not leading the division. We're thumping you. I just think this may end up being a blowout.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say that, like, really that's been the Texans' issue, even going back to last year when they were better, because I think the reason is young leadership. Just like across the board, their best players are young. Their coach is a first-time head coach, and as good as all those people are, it's tough. I mean, you know this. I mean, you basically run a business, and your day job, right? I mean, and leadership is incredibly important, and experience in leadership. There's a difference between a good leader who's inexperienced and a good leader who's experienced, and they don't have a lot of experienced leadership, and I think it shows in critical moments. And this is one where it makes total sense if you're looking through that lens that maybe they would look a little sophomore-ish in this moment. I understand why it's disappointing, that said, because it seems to be like it's one of these things like, it's rearing its head again. It's this again. You know what I mean? Where it's compounding because it happened last year, and you know what I mean. He just got back from it, and blah 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 blah. And I think that's why it's sad. But you're right. I mean, it's a game where you expect to get injured. I just think the fact that they're so young and inexperienced kind of ways it, and kind of like Detroit. If I could just sum it up, they've gone from being the hunter to the hunted, and I don't think they've worn that super well.
Well, and some of the weaknesses of the Texans this year, if you're wondering why C.J. Stroud's numbers aren't what they were last year, take a look at the interior of their offensive line. It's bad. And that makes it hard to hit those long passes that were making the highlights last year. If you're getting rush up the middle, it's hard to stand in there and gun the ball 40 yards downfield because you're going to be on the turf. And that's what's happened a lot with the Texans this year. I think the Ravens will exploit that. Well, that wraps up the Christmas Day remix coming on Netflix. And afterwards, we'll be able to see if Netflix handled the streaming traffic because it didn't go well for the Jake Paul fight. And this will be a similar audience. So we'll see if Netflix has some more of the servers and a little bit more capacity freed up. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the football games. Happy Hanukkah, the first night of Hanukkah on the 25th as well. Download that TrueTV Plus app. If you're looking for a great present, get somebody the all-free TrueTV Plus app. You can watch the Fired Up Network and Wrestling Spotlight on any of your devices, 100% free. And you don't even have to tell people it's free. Just say, hey, I got this great streaming app for you. And there's a bunch of other channels on there that's some great quality programming as well. Alex, any final holiday wishes as we wrap it up here heading into Christmas Day?
Safe travel for everyone. This is a horrific travel day. I'm so glad I'm not traveling. Safe travel for everyone, and just have a great time with family. At the end of the day, that's what this holiday is about. I know. There's a lot of different faiths involved, and I'm not here to comment on any of those. But at the end of the day, like, gather around your family and enjoy them. They're not here forever.
Very true. And if you're looking for a new song for the holiday season, soon to be, I'm sure, a holiday classic. Glorilla and Kalani's Xmas Time is now available for streaming. So you can mix that in with, Santa Claus is coming to town and Silver Bells. Have a great holiday. Have a great Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Thanks for watching us here on the Fired Up.